Victorian children. Good afternoon. This presentation is about. We will be showing you the life of a Victorian child. We will be talking about why and good and bad, why it's not good to be a Victorian child. There are many reasons in and against this argument that we will state. The good reasons of being a child is that they get independent at a young age. Another good reason is that from the year 1891, education was free for children.
The bad reasons for being a Victorian: food and health, because the poor couldn't afford food, healthcare. Also, the poor worked at a young age. Our opinion: we think it was a bad time to be in the Victorian times.
Hope you enjoy.
Peace.
Good afternoon. Today we are going to talk about whether the Victorian period was a good time to be a child.
There are many reasons for and against this argument.
For example, Victorian children could go to school, however, they were very expensive and they had strict rules and high expectations.
Some of them then were free to work at low-paid jobs to earn money for their families.
This was bad because they didn't have enough money to get food.
In the Victorian times, every morning you went to school, you would get given a horrible medicine called the purge.
They also got given it in workhouses and so did the servants.
In our opinion, we think that it wasn't a good time to be a Victorian child because you got treated badly.
Victorian Children by Salmon, Courtney, Leoby and Charlie.
Good afternoon. Today we are going to tell you all about lives of Victorian children. There are many reasons why Victorian children's lives are good and bad. One good reason is that in 1891 there was free education. If you were rich, you would have many servants working for you. However, if you were poor, you might be working for the rich. This led for the rich children to have better education and have a better life.
Poor children would have to work in mining caves and factories. This led them to be more independent at a young age. Also, there were many slum children. That means they were too poor to buy toys and had nowhere to play.
In conclusion, we wouldn't want to be Victorian children.
Thanks for listening.
Victorian children.
Good afternoon. Today we will educate you about the Victorian period. In this presentation we will talk to you about the good and bad things about being a Victorian child. We hope you enjoy.
There are many different sides to this argument. For example, the Victorian children get paid lots of money, therefore they will get a good job in the future. On the other hand, the machines are very dangerous and deadly, and there may be a possibility of them getting killed.
If you can't buy food, it's possible that you can buy it on the slate.
It was very bad to be a Victorian child because if you was being naughty, you'll get punished by getting struck by the head of the workhouse or head of the master of the school. In our opinion, we think that these Victorian children deserve a better life.
Being a Victorian child isn't that bad because they'll get a good education and a nice job when they're older.
We decided that being a Victorian children is bad.
We hope you enjoyed our presentation about
Victorian children.
Hello and welcome to our presentation. Today we're going to tell you whether the Victorian period was good times to be a child.
There are many good and bad things about being a Victorian child. Let us tell you a few.
In 1891, boys and girls could go to school from free. This many did their good and this instead of having to work in Victorian missions or ever children.
However, the education was not very good and they got punished if they got something wrong. Some even had to wear a dunce's hat if they said something stupid.
Before 1891, many children had to pay to go to school, but many could not afford it, so they had to work.
Poor children ended up going to the workhouse if they did not have a job. Some even died there because they were treated very poorly. For example, they had a lack of food and medicines if they were ill.
However, not all children were poor. Rich children were looked after by a nanny or a servant. They had lovely clothes and lots of toys to play with.
Many children were money for their family. This taught them to be more interested and to value what they had.
Our opinion is that it could be pretty bad depending on whether you were rich or poor.
Children that were rich were treated very well and had an easier life than the poorer children. Poorer children had to work very hard and in difficult conditions.
Is being a Victorian child good or bad?
Good afternoon. Today we are going to be discussing Victorian children and their lives.
In Victorian times, it is good to be a child because children would be independent at a young age. We know this because children would have to walk to work and buy food for themselves.
However, it was a terrible thing being a Victorian child because they were sent to work at a young age, and this causes illness and hunger problems.
When Victorians were bored, they had to entertain themselves. They played with whatever they could find, like dancing to hurdy-gurdy man, paddling in a stream or climbing up trees.
Children had free education, but their education was very poor.
The children of the street had to find food of their own because they had no money. But the unlucky children didn't get any food from the rich adults.
Our opinion is that Victorian children should not be treated badly.
You're on.
Victorian children.
Good afternoon. Today I'll be talking about how Victorian children live and if it was a good time to be living there.
There are a lot of reasons both for and against of being a Victorian child. For example, they got paid once a day. If they had enough money to pay to go to school, they have a better future and a better job.
One of the good things of being a Victorian child is that when you go to school, your working hours are reduced. When you work, you get paid so you can provide your family with food and clothes.
When education started, the children were allowed to learn. But only children with money went to school. So they learned more by going to private schools, and the boys and girls went to separate classes.
When they went to school, if they were bad, they get a bad punishment, like getting whipped and caned. Education had to be paid.
They had to work up to 16 hours a day. They wouldn't have clean clothes or shoes. They would get ill from working.
They wouldn't have any medicine. The jobs would be dangerous. They would hardly have any food.
Our opinion is that you shouldn't be a Victorian child because the rules were very strict.